Hello, hello. Welcome back, you guys, to Let's Vibe podcast. In today's episode, we are going over all of the things about Project Glow. I went to my first ever Project Glow. It was my first time ever in the DC area. I decided to make the trek out and attend this festival for the first time with my friends. And so we are doing a nice little recap episode just to go over my experience and my time there and just go over some of those key things in case you are ever interested in attending Project Glow. So we are going to do my typical kind of recap here of going over just a general overview of the festival and background on why I attended. We're going to go over the venue, stages, and production. Then we are going to talk about the music, the vibes, overall experience, tips for next time, and would I attend again? So going to be a little bit of a jam-packed episode, but we are going to get through it all. If you do enjoy today's episode, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, all the things, and let's go ahead and dive in. So kicking it off, just a little bit of background about Project Glow, why I wanted to attend, who I attended with, all the things. So I originally heard about Project Glow because it was on the East Coast. It's in the DC area. This was the third time that Project Glow had happened. It is under the Insomniac East/Insomniac brand. And I remember when Project Glow first came out, it didn't really jump out at me too much just because it is on the East Coast. I live in Austin, Texas. However, my lovely East Coast friends were very excited about this festival. And so I always kind of kept my eye on it. And this year, I don't know, I saw the lineup and I was like, why not? You know, one of my mantras this year is doing things for the plot. And I really just wanted to see my East Coast friends. And the lineup really jumped out at me. Of course, having Lane 8, Knock 2, and some other really exciting acts. So I figured, again, why not? Let's go and check out this festival. I've never been to this part of the country before. I've been to the East Coast, but I've been more in Florida. I've been to New York, never really been in the DC area. And I didn't even really check out DC, to be honest, if you guys saw from the vlogs on my YouTube channel. So the group that I went with my friend Britta. She's known as Britta Grace on TikTok and Instagram. Her and I have been connected, honestly, maybe since 2021, 2022. And then we spent some more time together on Groove Cruise, which I was so happy about because we've just been internet friends. And so we got to spend a lot of time together on Groove Cruise. And so originally I was going to go with Emma Capotis and her friend Vicky. However, they were just going to go for a singular day. And my friends BB and Garrett kind of had their group situated in the hotel. And so it was one of those things where I didn't want to have to figure out getting a hotel room with myself or like figure out a weird thing with like Emma and Vicky only going one day. So I ended up reaching out to my friend Britta and I was like, hey, are you going? What's your plan? Could I like maybe hop in with your squad? And she was like, yeah, like I'm going with my friend Jerry. We've been to a couple festivals before. And then I'm going with my friends, Kate and Haley. You're more than welcome to join. Like Jerry's mom has a house out there. It's about like 20 to 30 minutes from the festival. It's out in Maryland. And so, you know, we'd be able to figure out how to get to and from the festival, but basically would be like a free place to stay. And I was like, all right, say less, I'm in, you know? And you know, I do have like my core group of people that I go to festivals with, but I also, you know, recently went through a breakup where that kind of also changed my dynamics of like who I go to festivals with, right? Because I obviously had a partner that I was going to a lot of festivals with and then would meet up with friends and stuff like that there. So I was like, you know what? Let's like meet some new people, go with different groups. Like that's kind of how I'm approaching a lot of the festivals I'm going to this year. Like I am going to, you know, festivals with people I've never attended a festival with before. So we're definitely, you know, experiencing some new things that can feel really uncomfortable. But I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Why not? So I actually flew into Baltimore, Maryland, which I, again, never been. Never been to Baltimore, never been to Maryland. And we ended up staying, you know, on the water that was really nice near Annapolis, which was just super beautiful. And honestly, I'm really glad I did that anyway, because it was kind of a nice little reset in some nature before going and having some fun at a festival. And, you know, I really didn't feel the need where I need to go explore DC, go to the White House, like all that. Also, it's just like a very weird time in our country right now with a lot of things going on. So you know, it wasn't really my time to go be exploring historical monuments and like all of that, you know, it just wasn't the vibe or the time. And I didn't have a whole lot of time to do that because I flew in Friday and then the festival was Saturday and Sunday, and I flew out first thing Monday. So I really came for the festival, but on that Friday we did explore Annapolis and like got to eat around and do all the kind of like little bitsy touristy things. And it was kind of cool just seeing another little area of the country. And it was very much giving like coastal vibes. Like if I were to retire, I would retire here and live happily, you know. Like it was one of those things where like maybe I wouldn't live there now, but I would retire there, you know, and imagining myself retiring there. So it's still super fun, and just getting to spend quality time with Britta and her friends and getting to know them and all of that. You know, I think that's a really beautiful thing about raves and festivals and just connecting with people, is just recognizing, you know, we all come from different walks of life or like different life journeys. We're all at different parts of our life. And like, I don't know, I was just having a lot of like moments like that. And it always feels that way with like groups and festivals, that like the people you hang around with, like you were meant to meet for a reason. And like, we're all here to kind of like learn from each other. Like I'm getting super like, I don't know, like philosophical here, but it just all felt right. The group that I went with and all of that. And like, I still got to spend time with the people that I do go to festivals with typically. So it was really nice to just branch out and get to see a different part of the country and get to spend some time in some nature. And like Jerry also had like his dogs there. So we had dogs that were fun to hang out with. And like, we just all hung out and vibe before getting to go to the festival. And I think it was just a really nice way to start out my festival weekend. And so we were about a 30 to 40 minute drive. We decided to drive and do the parking pass, which like all of that was very seamless. I think it was like $80 for the whole weekend, and we were able to split that up with friends. So it really wasn't that bad, and the drive really wasn't that bad either. Saturday was like a little bit more trafficy, but I think that was because of it was like a Saturday, whereas Sunday wasn't as trafficy, and then getting home was probably about the same, like 30, 40 minutes. And really wasn't that bad. So that's kind of like a little bit more the context, the story, all of that. We didn't do any afters or pre-party. And like, honestly, I'm kind of glad. I was hearing a lot of mixed things about the venues that they had these things at, that made me like not that excited to go, even though I feel like I've heard mixed things about it, like Echo Stage being one of them, right? So we decided not to do that. Honestly, better to save the money, and it was what it was. And we ended up getting to go home, getting some Wawa, and just going to sleep and all of that. So that's kind of like some background and context, but let's get into my actual thoughts on the festival and all of that. So kicking it off with the venue, it was at, I believe, the RFK Festival grounds, which it's kind of like around this stadium. And I remember going into this festival, Emma was like, just be prepared. It is literally in a parking lot. And I was like, heard, okay. And that's what it was. It's literally in a parking lot outside of this stadium, which like this stadium was kind of giving Hunger Games. Like, and I just heard from my friend Peyton that they're actually tearing down this stadium. And I was wondering what this stadium was for. I think it was like for soccer or something. So it basically is in a parking lot outside of it. But honestly, it was really easy to get to. The parking was super easy. And then the walk from parking to the festival isn't that bad. And then, you know, there's other ways to get to this festival, like Ubering or taking like I don't know if it's the metro or whatever, but like a metro line. You can take to and from the festival. So in my mind, I've heard good things that it is easy to get to and from. You just kind of have to plan for it. And yeah, the venue is literally in a parking lot. And this year, they rearranged a lot of the festival from what I had heard in years past. So, you know, right when you walk in, there is the Secret Garden stage, and then they had the Pulse stage, and then the Eternal stage, kind of side by side, music going out from there. And then they had the VIP section in between, and then obviously like a walk between. It is a really small festival. Honestly, what I will say about this festival, that if you are maybe newer to festivals, newer to the rave scene, maybe you're a baby raver, maybe you're going to go to your first festival, or maybe you have someone you want to take to a festival for the first time, Project Glow would be a really good choice in my opinion, because Security was a breeze. Like the venue is really small and intimate, and phone service wasn't too bad. And the overall layout in just the overall ease of the festival, you know, doors were at 1 p.m. I want to say, and then it went to 11 p.m. Like it's a really easy festival in that aspect. And I really don't have too many complaints. Like I love the layout of the venue. The only complaint obviously would be sound bleed. Was more of an issue for VIP attendees. Because we were, you know, caught between the two stages. And if you were at the pull stage when, you know, melodic house is playing and you hear the dips in the slowness of the song, you're going to hear the brum, brum, brum from like the other stage, the main stage, you know? So that was definitely my main thing when it came to, you know, the stages and production if you had VIP. However, if you were in GA, it wasn't as noticeable, but that was definitely one of my critiques for VIP, which I'm going to get to a little bit more of those critiques that I have for VIP. Other than that, I will say like the actual like production, like the lighting, the visuals, like all of that stuff I really liked on both of those stages. On day 2, there was a little bit of like some sound issues with like Troy Boy's set. I felt like his set was super quiet. But otherwise, like, I feel like, you know, you do get that Insomniac level production at a, you know, cheaper price. That's why I think it is a good festival, maybe for someone newer to attend to, because you still get some solid production. But my main critique is obviously like some of the sound things that we experienced. But overall, like, I would say the layout was pretty solid. Like, my only critiques with the layout comes with the VIP experience and the bathroom situation and that kind of thing. But overall, like, the layout was very easy to maneuver around and get around to. And I do feel like there was like, you know, vendors, there was food options, there was drinks, beatbox, little activation, like things like that. There isn't much else experience wise, I would say, but that's just kind of like what you get. It's a cute 2-day little festival. It's not like a camping festival or like one of those transformational festivals. Like, it had kind of enough in it for the space that it was given. And so I'll leave it at that. And then I definitely have more when it comes to overall experience and like thoughts like that. But let's get into the music. I really enjoyed this lineup, and that's kind of one of the main reasons why I went. You know, on day 1, there was basically like a This Never Happened takeover in a way, which is like Lane 8's label. You know, we had Lane 8 as the headliner of the night. We had Tin Liquor before that. I got to see Jero back-to-back Marsh a little bit. I didn't see Nora Impure because I really wanted to see Knock 2, and Knock 2 absolutely killed it. Blossom also killed it. We got there right around when Blossom played, so saw her. Then I saw Jero back-to-back Marsh, Sultan Shepherd, you know, all these artists that I hadn't really seen, like Knock 2, and then we all had an amazing time at Tin Liquor. And then I ended up splitting Lane 8 and Illenium because I am going to see Lane 8 at Lightning in a Bottle, which I am so unbelievably stoked about. I love Lane 8. We all know I love Lane 8, so I can't wait to see him then. And then that was basically day 1. So it really was, like I said, a short, compact kind of festival, but still a really good time. And I think for me, it was also just about, you know, being around friends, seeing familiar faces and things like that. And then for day 2, we got there, I want to say for Nostalgics. We saw a little bit of Nostalgics. Then saw Vanessa. Her set was really good. It's Murph was probably one of my favorites from that day because I've really been interested in seeing him, and he killed it. He's definitely one to watch. I highly recommend his music. It's just really feel good, vibey music. Then we saw a little bit of Troy Boy. Then we went to get some food. I can't remember who was at the other stage at that time. We went and got food. Then we went to Said the Sky for a little bit, which was like kind of okay for me. I hadn't seen Said the Sky in a while, and it kind of, you know, was still sounding as when I saw him the last time. All Craze back-to-back Wax Motif was a really nice surprise. Really enjoyed that. We caught the end of that, and then Elderbrook was probably my favorite set of that day / the weekend, because it was a DJ set and it was just like no other Elderbrook set I've ever seen. Like, he definitely just experimented a lot more. He intertwined like his music with other stuff. It had some really solid remixes. Like, he had this Badadon remix that was really good. And yeah, I just really enjoyed Elderbrook set. That was definitely a surprise for me, but I enjoy sets like that where it's kind of like, I love Tin Liquor, I love Lane 8, but like I know what I'm getting with that. Like the Elderbrook DJ set just really took me by surprise and I really enjoyed it. And then we ended with Zed, which like I know what I'm getting with Zed. It was a really good Zed set. It was a good time. Great note to end on and kind of complete the weekend. So, for me, day one, like really loved Knock 2's set. And then of course enjoyed all those other artists that I love. And then for day two, I would say It's Murph and Elderbrook really took it for me. Let's talk about the vibes. Honestly, the crowd was what surprised me the most. And it wasn't that it was like a bunch of young people or like anything. I was not prepared for the gays. I was not prepared for the gays, which I loved. I was just laughing to myself because I was surrounded, especially at the This Never Happened. Like everyone was calling it the Anjuna gays, but like I was so happy about it because honestly, like the gays are a great time on the dance floor. We all have a good time together, I just was not expecting it. I was just like laughing to myself. I was like, this is basically like a Pride festival, like Project Glow Pride Festival. But no, it really just depended on like the sets you were at, the stages you were at. But otherwise, I mean, the crowd was awesome. Like regardless, like yes, the gays bring the good energy, the positive energy and the nice energy, but also like just in general, I feel like everyone was just in really good spirits and like candy culture was alive. People were trading candy. I got to meet a lot of like content creators and influencers that I hadn't met before, which was really exciting. But in general, like all the vibes were there. Like everyone was having a good time. Even when it was super packed at Knock 2, people were just still saying excuse me, still being nice and like whatever. And like even if I went walking by myself, like people were still smiling or saying hi and like whatever. Like I don't know, the energy and the vibes were pretty good and the crowd was really great. Like I have no complaints or no instances at all. And like I would say this was a crowd where like they were ravers, like they knew saying excuse me or they knew how to like be kind to one another, like take care of each other, like whatever. Like that's just kind of what it was giving, and I really just enjoyed it. Like I had no bad vibes or no bad complaints about the crowd or the vibes whatsoever. Now moving into overall experience, I was kind of hinting at some of these things within the venue portion, but just to talk about it a little bit more, I haven't really talked about this in too many places, but this year for the festivals I'm attending, I'm not really working. So I did kind of a work trip with Groove Cruise. I might have one other festival where I'm working, meaning I'm collaborating or doing content or whatever. But any of the other festivals I'm going to, which is a lot of festivals, I have decided to buy the tickets myself. I don't want any work exchange. I don't want any collaborations or press passes or like anything. I don't want any of that. I kind of want to just be an attendee, which like with that does come me having some critiques, even though like, yes, when I have done work for other festivals, I have given my thoughts and opinions, but like it weighs a little bit more when it's coming out of your pocket. I'm not going to lie. And so with VIP, my biggest critique I have is the layout of it and what you really did with VIP and giving it just that one section, because obviously we dealt with like sound bleed and sound issues, but we also dealt with very long wait times for the bathrooms. And it's like they had trailers for the bathrooms and some porta potties in there, but it just didn't feel like enough. And it felt like you had to wait 20 or 30 minutes. Like I didn't wait for those bathrooms, to be honest. I honestly went to GA and went to like the back corner porta potties and ended up doing my business there because I just didn't want to wait. Same thing with GA Plus, which is like, a lot of us talk about GA Plus not being worth it because it's kind of like a scam, right? Like it doesn't, you don't really get many perks other than maybe a separate line to get into the festival in the bathroom, right? Like you might as well just go VIP or stay in GA. And like for the bathroom situation, I was really disappointed by that because it's like you're paying extra for a nicer bathroom situation, but then you're having to wait half a set, right? Like I could have missed the whole Knock 2 set just waiting to go to the bathroom, And obviously the sound bleed was a big issue, right? When you have a melodic house stage combating, main stage vibes like Knock 2, Dioro back-to-back Valentino Con, Rez, right? Like it just yeah, you had to be fully in both of those VIP experiences to not hear the other things. And again, you might have just been in GA on the other sides to avoid like hearing that, when you were at main stage, you couldn't really hear the other stage. It was like when you were at the pole stage, you definitely could hear the main stage, right? So that's kind of like one of the main things I had with VIP, but I did like that there was like, separate bars and also like food options and things like that, which was really nice. And they had like a little activation, like photo op thing in this like rubber ducky thing, which was interesting, just like a little photo op and stuff like that. As for like other non-music things, like I said, there was like a couple of things. Like I didn't really go to the Secret Garden stage at all. And they had like different, I guess, art backdrops and things for photos and things like that. And they had like the little beatbox activation. But other than that, there's just the music and eating and drinking. And like, that's really about it, which is why I think it's a nice little 2-day festival for someone who's never been to a festival. And also if you're just wanting a nice little fun weekend, if you've been to festivals, Project Glow is a nice, easy option to go to. It's not going to be a festival where, your whole life is going to change because you went to some transformational workshop of some sort, like it's really just for fun and it really can be a good time. I had a really good time, but I would just kind of like manage the expectations that it really is music, dancing, eating, drinking, things like that. I did really like the food options, and I did partake in drinking at a festival for the first time. It was purely research, honestly, because I only drank on the first day and then I stayed sober the second day, but I really wanted to check in and see how I felt. And, it was fun. We got a little silly with our friends. I had 2 beatboxes and then one, like, they don't have Red Bull, isn't the other thing I learned. Like Insomniac is partnered with Ghost. So I had like a tequila Ghost kind of situation, but it was basically a tequila Red Bull. I will say we had some fun. I wasn't hungover the next day, but I was just really tired. And that's what I've really been noticing. This is like kind of like a duh, but alcohol really does impact your sleep. And I think that's what impacted me the most, is that I didn't get as great of sleep going into day 2. And that's probably why I would not drink, just because sleep is so important when you go to a music festival. And I just felt like my energy wasn't fully there for day 2. And I know my friends could probably sense it too. And I was kind of like just in my head a little bit. And like, I do feel like the drinking maybe heightened anxiety a little bit. And that too. So I really did it just to kind of observe with myself and really affirm that like, yeah, I'm good not drinking at these things, which is true. Like I'm totally good not drinking at those things. I might drink more socially, like getting, dinner with friends or like going to happy hour with coworkers. But like, other than that, I'm kind of good when it comes to shows and festivals. So it was a fun little thing. Having beatbox again was kind of like, whoa, like I hadn't had that in a long time. But we're just chalking it up. We got a little silly with our friends and that's cool. And, for the other festivals I'm going to, especially like Lightning in a Bottle, where it is an outside camping festival, like I will not be drinking for that, honestly. And yeah, that's just kind of how I'm feeling with all of it. I think that's really about it. If I missed anything, you feel free to leave me a comment on YouTube. But like I said, it was a really easygoing festival. And I put, tips for next time. Like, I can't really think of anything out of the standard, like, tips that would happen. I guess the one thing I didn't talk about with the overall experience was the weather, which I need to, like, include in here for, like, my future recaps and stuff. But weather, honestly, I've heard is a gamble. And on day 1, we did get like a little bit of some sprinkles, some rain, and then it was cool the rest of the day. Honestly, I didn't mind the cold because you just kind of dressed for it. And then day 2 was super hot. And honestly, it was kind of draining. Like it was pretty hot. There wasn't much shade structure. So that could be some piece of feedback for that. But again, that's hard for them to plan for. There wasn't much shade structures with that heat. To combat that. So I think, tip for next time is really just plan and accommodate for that weather, especially if it is super hot. Make sure you're drinking a lot of water and taking care of yourself and all of that. And yeah, like honestly, it's a pretty easygoing festival. I think my tips would look a lot different if I had to do like the Uber or like the metro line or whatever to get to and from the festival, which usually for that, I say just like plan ahead. I do really like the parking was really easy to get in and out of. Even if we left at the end of every day, we still got out of parking pretty quickly, I would say. But other than that, like I said, it's a really easygoing festival. So like when it comes to tips for this festival, it really is like just what you normally do for a festival. Like just be prepared, know what you can and can't bring, like make it easy for security to get through. Like security wasn't super thorough in my opinion. And then just really take care of yourself. I would like to see what they do for next year in terms of the map, if they're going to keep that same layout, what they're going to do about VIP. I do think that this way that they did VIP just did not work. So maybe they'll go back to the drawing board. But overall, like would I attend again? Yes and no. I think if I lived on the East Coast, I would go to Project Glow. Like my friends who live in New York or my friends who live around the DC area, like it's a very easy festival to go to and have some fun at. I don't know if I would travel again to go to it. I'm really glad I still went and got to like experience a different festival, got to see my friends and all of that. And I did really enjoy my experience. But I do think it is, you are making a trip out there, spending money on flights and all of that. But like all in all, like I had a really great time and I'm okay leaving it at that. Like I experienced my first Project Glow. Could be the last time I attend Project Glow and I'm okay with that, but I'm glad I got to experience it. And I do recommend it, especially if you live on the East Coast. Like it is such an easygoing festival. And if you have someone that you are trying to get into going to raves and festivals, I do think it's a really good choice for them to try it out and attend. That is really it for today's podcast episode, my recap of Project Glow. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, feel free to leave me a rating and review. Or leave me a comment on YouTube and hit that subscribe button to vibe with me and all of those fun things. Thank you so much for listening and tuning into today's episode. I love you guys and I will see you in the next one. And don't forget to stay vibey and I will vibe with you in the next episode. Bye.